All right, Investor Central and Stacks users, what I want to go over today, it is June the 3rd of 2024. We're going to go over all of our prints from May and a review of all our numbers for the last 6 months of Stacks AI. First, what you can see here, these were updated just over the weekend. It is Monday, but again, I have these updated from what the previous week's highs and lows were. What we do have are these 16 prints total. However, I'm only going to evaluate these 12 down here for a specific reason. The last four up here only had a day or two for them to, I like to say, marinate. And as a result, haven't really quite moved. You could consider all four of them misses at this point, but I think that kind of skews the data and kind of gives a false representation of what's going on. If you take a look over here, from these 11 prints that we do have, we've got some pretty awesome hitters. We've got FSLR over here from just 2 weeks ago, where they've actually already returned a 400+%. Pretty awesome. What actually happened was right after they were purchased, they did jump quite a bit. We also have NVIDIA right before their earnings. Those are looking at about a 77% return already. And some awesome ones, PDD here at a 66% return as well. CVS did hit a high very recently of a 50% return. So what you can see is Stacks AI is actually, picking out some pretty awesome prints for you guys to take a look at. DAL right here, Delta Airlines is the one that's been a miss, only about 5% or so, but they do have until 2026. So keep an eye out for that one. What I've noticed over time is that a lot of these that are looking for leaps, a year or so out, generally there's some big news coming for those. I'm going to review a few from the previous prints and previous months that we have. But total from our May prints, what we have is about a 91% return or 91% hit rate with a 105% return on average for these 11. We will update in our next back testing what's gone on with these, but just so you guys see, FSLR, Dell, even after Dell's big drop, there's been some heavy buying going on, just so you know. VST and Amazon are our most recent ticker calls for Stacks AI. Now, if we go a little bit further back, I do want to point out this Tiva was one that a lot of our Discord members and a lot of Stacks AI users were in at about 124% return. And keep in mind, this was for March of next year. So if you had purchased shorter term expirations around in that same strike or even a little bit closer, these numbers might have even been even higher. One thing that I did notice with April in particular was that we had a lot of weekly prints in Stacks AI, which is actually kind of rare. If you take a look here, a lot of SPY and ETF purchases in the puts, and a lot of those, and actually the majority of those, when you take a look at it, were all hits. We did have a few misses early on in the month. QQQ, JPM, Microsoft over here. Keep in mind, Microsoft has until the middle of next year, so almost another year left of time for this one, which very likely could continue to go up. But in terms of our April prints, what you can understand, there still are quite a few. And what I want to point out here is in my back testing, if you notice these blue boxes means that they've gone even higher in May and returned even more. So Tiva, Amazon, AVGO, which is Broadcom, UAL, AMD, those ones went even higher during the month of May. One thing as well, AMD was previously a miss last month, but now has turned into a win at about 14%. So our hit rate here for April is a 90% hit rate. The averages, due to the fact that we had so many of these that were very short term, you may notice the short term ones here, averaged around that 20 to 30% return. And due to the fact that there are 40 prints throughout this month, the average return rate for April was 31%. If you go a little bit further back, what I want to point out is that even for our March prints, in particular, the fact that a lot of these were 2025, 2026 type of prints, we do have a lot of updates and higher returns for these prints in March. Dell, which was a big hitter, keep in mind, Dell did drop quite a bit after their earnings, but we did have some signals from our STAX software that showed a lot of heavy put buying right before earnings. When it ran up to its high, was looking at about a 400% return for this for Dell. UNH, Nvidia as well, with Nvidia's recent earnings. These ones are looking around the 60% return, and there was some heavy buying in March that have expirations for later in 2026. Dash, Tesla, AXP. Here's a QQQ print that actually went from a miss to a win. It's only at about 9, almost 10%, but they still do have quite some time as well. MU here. So if you take a look, we've got 3 misses for our March, 3 misses here, 86% for May. And as well, we can go a little bit further back. There still are a few of these that are actually changing. So again, this QQQ print from February now is a win. And what that's done is it's boosted our hit rate just a little bit. I want to point out Google here was recently, I know last month, reported that they're paying out a dividend. It's continued to go up just a little bit. This one looking at 158% return. Here's a pretty awesome one, VST here at 854% XLE. Very, very high returns if you happen to get into these back then and noticed how far these expirations were. And if you did purchase their exact same expirations, you should be looking at that type of return now. These numbers here averaged out 105%, almost 106% return. There's a total of 113 prints from our STAX software shown, and what you'll notice is there's a 92% hit rate. 104 of them have become winners, and so that's all shown down here in our data table. What I also want to do real quick is go back into our version 1. Version 1 here, again, even everything from our previous back testing of October and November, there are still a few of these that have continued to go higher. You'll notice that there are quite a few of these over 100% return. NVIDIA, Google, AXP, very similar to what our new version still continues to show us. One of our highest returns here, TSM, 1900, so a 19x return, pretty awesome. And NVIDIA plays from previously continue to go higher. This one's looking at 680% return. NVIDIA as well. Now, while none of these previous ones have changed from a win or changed from a miss to a win, I did want to go over these numbers for you as well. The hit rates from our previous version of STAX had a 94.5% hit rate, 68 out of 70 of those, and a high average of 153%. So you're looking at 1.5 times return. I do want to point out there are a lot of these that are leaps or purchases for next year or the year after, so 2025, 2026. And what you'll notice is that average days to high is over a month, almost 2 months of time for these. Overall, what we have is we have 172 out of our 186 prints from STAX AI are winners. The highs average 124.62%. with a hit rate of 92.47. Awesome, awesome numbers. I hope you guys are taking advantage and using these tools to your advantage of what Stacks AI is showing. Keep in mind, not everything is going to be a winner, but we do have some pretty high returns. And ultimately, if you're able to manage that risk, able to make sure that you manage your portfolio as you're using this tool, what we will continue to do is monitor these month to month. It is our 6 month anniversary of Stacks since our release, and we're excited to show you how powerful of a tool that this is. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. You can message us and email us at help@investorcentralclub.com. Let us know if there's tools that you've noticed, things that you've noticed with our software, improvements you would like to see. We're always open to that type of conversation to help improve how our software works. With that being said, this is Eric here with Stacks AI at Investor Central Club. Happy to help you guys out with these numbers. It's definitely a pleasure to be able to show these returns and to help you guys profit from these unpredictable markets. Let's keep these profits rolling, and we will see you guys in the next one.